it's all about selling the lifestyle. And our furniture is a lovely eclectic range. You'll have seen walking through the showroom. We can do anything from a castle, which we did recently
that would be cool.
in Gordon, right down to, a gorgeous beach cottage. And we can create that ambience and that vibe that the buyer really, really wants.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Property Chat with Lachy and Matt. We're here at Coco Republic's head office. Is it head office?
It's one of our flagship stores.
Okay.
It's our Alexandria showroom.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're here with Jenny, who's the senior stylist for Coco Republic, and we're going to talk today about all things styling. So Jenny, for the guests who don't know, why don't you tell us a little bit about Coco Republic and yourself?
Yeah, sure. We're known as a beautiful furniture brand initially, and people would be aware of us from a showroom point of view. We're a very strong brand presence in the luxury furnishing sector of the market.
Yep.
But as a company, we pretty much can, we pretty much have everyone's design needs covered at any level. So if somebody just wants to come in and buy a sofa, that's obviously very doable. If they want to come in and have a full house completely interior designed and furnished to a floor plan, we can do that. We can do finishes for them through our interior design division, which is another arm of the business. And of course, more relevant to the property styling division is our short-term property styling sector of the business. So that's where I'm based, and we work very closely with agents, obviously preparing properties for sale and styling them to present to market.
Yep. And would you say the main area you cover is sort of around where we are, around that sort of Sydney market?
Yeah, look, we work mainly throughout Sydney, but we do travel as far as, the Southern Highlands, Wollongong, definitely up to the Central Coast. We style properties out of town very frequently.
Yep.
We're known as the more high-end part of the market, known to be able to style the really beautiful big properties and have a lovely consistent style throughout, because we're backed by this fabulous retail arm with a beautiful brand and lots of furniture available. And so
that certainly helps.
It certainly helps. And it also means that when we do run low on stock, unlike other companies, we can tap into our retail resources. So it's a great brand, and we can get that beautiful, consistent flow through a huge property. But equally, we do style anything down to studio apartments. Yep. It's just it's a very particular style that transitions very nicely across a coastal property or an inner city property or a country estate, and appeals to a very wide range of prospective buyers as well.
Because that's what we get asked all the time, isn't it? Like, a lot of our vendors will say to us, I'm looking at styling a property, but I'm not quite sure whether my home meets the brief. And, from our point of view, we feel like it's an improvement to absolutely any property.
Yes.
It comes down to making sure that we get a stylist who's going to maybe pick the right furniture for that marketplace, for that property, and for maybe the demographic that we're targeting.
That's right. And I think a lot of styling companies it's not a mistake, they're just not equipped to fulfill a brief of a particular style of a home, and it's something that we're very particular about here. It's a different level of service that a lot of other companies are not able to offer. Because of our product range, we can provide all these different looks and feels that suit the architecture of a property, the location where it is, who the buyer is going to be, and we're very particular about that because it's all about selling the lifestyle. And our furniture is a lovely eclectic range. You'll have seen walking through the showroom. We can do anything from a castle, which we did recently
that would be cool.
in Gordon, right down to, a gorgeous beach cottage. And we can create that ambience and that vibe that the buyer really, really wants.
You can almost see the sort of transition as you walk through the showroom.
Yes.
You've got these sort of richer Manhattan and London colours, and then you sort of come towards the other end and it's lighter, it's brighter. So you can see that sort of diverse range as you take a walk through.
That's right.
And When we were in the design school just before, I saw a few things on the wall there about just the level of detail, talking about the types of clients. Is that something which you think about when you're styling a property? Like, who is going to be the likely person that we're trying to attract, and what are they after? What sort of trends attract them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the target market is key to what we're trying to appeal to. So we like to work really closely with our agents, and I mean, we're very experienced at what we do. We've all been doing this for many, many, many years. I've personally worked for Coco Republic for 10 years now and have styled doing other things prior to that. But we're a very experienced team, but we love to work in tandem with the agent and be very strong on who our target market is. We don't want to discount anybody, but, somebody looking for that coastal escape, we want to give them that lovely, all the beautiful linens and the cane textural surfaces and the corals and the, that sort of a coastal feel that they can imagine themselves living in. So we're very particular about the style of a property. We don't just pop in a package of furniture and, there's a table, there's a chair. It's very well thought through. It's basically a bespoke scheme that will evoke that emotional response in your buyer when they walk through that door.
Well, it's interesting you talk about the emotional response. So I think that's, as an agent, it's key that when we're thinking about styling properties is we want a buyer to be able to walk in and feel as if they can just sit down, begin living in the space. So if it invokes that sort of response, it's more likely to get them to have that feeling, that connection with the home.
That's right. And it's an emotive thing, buying a home, isn't it? And that's the absolute key that we're trying to achieve. And we all get such a kick out of every single job we do. We walk out going, wow, that's transformed that place, and we feel very confident it's going to go really well and present beautifully, but also creating beautiful marketing for you as an agent. That's so important, because the first touch point, of course, is the photography that comes up online. And I know myself, when I'm even looking at properties, I can see through furniture, etc., because that's what I do for a living. But for every man and his dog out there, or every average Joe Blow, they're so attracted to that beautiful image and instantly click on and are drawn into that property. And definitely let's add that to the short list and go and see that one. So it's a very important part of the job, creating that shot for the agents.
And from our end, it gives us confidence, as a selling agent, being able to say to your vendor that you've done absolutely everything to present the home, and that it is over to us to go and now get you the best price, but you've left us in really good stead to do so.
Yes.
And I think, one of the things that we see is a vendor will always ask us, look, if I'm going to make the investment to styling, and it may be 6, 10, 15, 20,000, depending on the property, if they're going to make that investment, like everyone, they want to know what that return is on investment. Yep. And it's really difficult to put a dollar value on what that return is.
Yes.
It's such a case by case. There's some properties we've gone out and appraised at a level and it's sold well above, and you do put a lot of that down to getting all of the details perfectly presented, ready to go for that campaign.
Yes.
And I think something that, we see a lot of as well is in the back end of, say, realestate.com and Domain, where we track all of the analytics, the style properties get really, really big reach. They get a lot more link clicks, they get a lot more previews.
Definitely.
The photos end up a little bit more expansive in terms of research. They go through every single one rather than clicking on it and clicking out.
Yeah. Well, I hear it from an auctioneer standpoint. When I'm calling agents the week prior to the auction, you're sort of asking them how things are going. There's a very common trend when there's a property that's positioned and it's going to be a very, very strong auction. 9 times out of 10, they'll say something along the lines of, look, we had great vendors, they listened to everything we said, they styled the property, it looks fantastic. As a result, we had this many people through. That's always in there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's never do you hear, the vendors didn't really present the property that well, but, we've got a screaming auction about to happen on the weekend. So it's something which is so important to that end result. And I guess we've seen it become more and more, mainstream over the past 10 years. More and more people are doing it. It was something which was only for those high-end properties initially. How have you seen that change over the past decade and the public's reaction to it?
Yeah, I think it's closely linked to so many things design based on TV and as well. I think everyone's a lot more design savvy shows like The Block and all the lifestyle channels with all the fabulous shows. They're very aspirational from a design point of view and a living point of view for people, and so they're a lot more exposed to it. And I think people are much more savvy in general regarding real estate as well. It's become the big thing. I mean, it's always been a big thing, but it's a culture now, and people are very savvy on the whole, and they know that if their property isn't up to scratch, they're not going to be in the mix. I mean, I had an agent once say to me, you're only fresh once. And I thought that was a really good thing to say, because I think I always get very upset when clients go, well, look, we're just going to give it a try with our own furniture and see how we go. Inevitably, really frequently, those people come back and say, yeah, well, we didn't get any traction, so we really now we're going to go to a full campaign. But
it's almost the equivalent of going to a cocktail event in a really, really old suit or something like that, popping off to the bathroom halfway through and coming back and getting changed. People are going to still know.
It's the same guy, just with a better suit.
That's right. I think you, as you said, Matthew, you want to get in there and be on the market, presented to the very best possible level you possibly can be with everything. You want the painting to be fresh throughout the property. You want the carpets, if they're tied, replace them. They're two of the biggest tips for people.
It reflects an agent though as well. That's what I've always sort of felt myself, is that I care a lot about my presentation, how I look in all different facets of my life, whether that be how my car looks, how I look, how my office space is, whatever. So for me, properties that I market, it's the same thing. I want to make sure I'm doing the best job for the client. And, you do get defensive when you go out there and a buyer says, geez, it's tired. And you go, well, we've done all of this to get it ready and it's amazing. And you can really be confident when you've got the right product behind you, when it is presented how you think it should be. I think for a lot of agents, and, again, this is the idea behind this, is to give sellers some insight about styling and why we think it's so important. It's not just for our gain, it's for their benefit.
Absolutely.
For the agents who maybe struggle to communicate this to a vendor, for a vendor who maybe feels that it can be a bit insulting to say, well, it's not that we don't like your taste, it's that we think that this is probably a little bit more mainstream, as Lachy touched on before, and going to appeal to more buyers.
That's right.
What would you say to maybe an agent or to a vendor who might be sort of on the fence thinking,
hesitant.
well,
Look, I do say to them right from the outset, this is not personal. Your house is lovely. This is how you live. How you live and how you sell a home are two very different things. You might want that giant sofa in the living room because you want everyone to be able to sit there and watch the movie together or whatever it might be, but it might just be totally overwhelming the space. And while it works for you from a living point of view, it doesn't work from a presentation point of view when you're selling. So, the red feature wall,
that was in fashion.
Or whatever that might be, any really personal statements that are not going to appeal to the widest possible target market need to be looked at, because you don't want to alienate anybody, but at the same time, you don't want the property to be dull and boring.
You're kind of generalising rather than specialising.
That's right. We need to appeal to the most people. So colour can be very polarising for people, so that's an obvious one. Making sure spaces are working in a home, like I've just mentioned, making sure the scale of furniture is right in a room and the functionality of each room is right. So, for instance, don't have a 5-bedroom home with one tiny living area. Perhaps we should consider styling one of those other bedrooms as another living area, so that you've got the right proportion of living to bedrooms. And this is when the relationship and the discussion with the agent and the owner, of course, is really important as to how are we presenting this. I mean, home offices at the moment are huge because of the whole COVID, working situation now. So many people working from home. So whereas in the past we've said, no, let's not style this as an office, let's style it as a third bedroom.
That's
now
been so important.
Oh, now it's the absolute opposite. Where can we fit in a home office in this property?
I think back in the past it was, let's put a bunk bed in this room, let's put a double bed in this room.
That's right. But it's getting the balance and the flow and the livability of the property right. And that's the technical side of it. And then it's putting together a beautiful scheme that flows front to back of the property that works perfectly, as I said, for the architecture and the main target market we're working towards. But for people that are a bit reluctant, I do trot out that saying, you know, you're only fresh once. Do you really want to risk getting it wrong? Because everything hinges on it. It's all about time on market as well. You know, it's proven that properties that are styled spend less time on market. All of this costs people money, and probably ultimately the end result that they get, the longer you're on market, the more tired the property becomes. And
but it's interesting though, because after say 60 days on the market, if you could offer a vendor that magic pill for $20,000 that'd get your home sold and get you on your way, there wouldn't be many that wouldn't take it. And we see it all the time where, you know, they haven't got the result within the first sort of 30 or 45 days relevant to your market, but they start then thinking, oh gosh, you know, maybe we should have done things a little bit differently, and they probably would have invested the money had they felt the way. Well,
they ask you the question all too often, and say, what else can we do? There's got to be something else we can do, and it's almost again back to what you said. You said, well, I wish we could rewind the clock, because there was something we could have done.
That's right.
Now we really can't.
Now it's dropping the price to actually make sure that all of the issues that we are facing. So if it's presentation problems that we're facing, or if it's maybe proportion problems that could have been addressed by putting the right furniture in, the only way to face that now is by getting the price aligned so that they no longer become problems.
That's right.
Unless you're prepared to take it off and reinvest.
That's right. And I think vendors need to really think about factoring into their marketing plan the styling costs, because it's such a critical part of the marketing of the property. It's not where you want to skimp. It's everything. It's what the people literally come in and buy almost the furniture. Obviously, there are properties that are magnificent architecturally and amazing, beautiful homes. But at the end of the day, if they're furnished terribly and, you know, it's a bit tired, it's a bit dated, it's a bit wrong.
Changes the energy straight away.
It changes the energy straight away, exactly. That would be my main thing with people. We recently had an example where we had this beautiful home, a really high-end property on the Upper North Shore, and the client decided to go with a cheaper styling quote against all advice. And that's very interesting what you say about listen to your agent, listen to the stylist. We all want you to get the best result. The good companies, that's what we're about. We're not here to rip you off. We're here to enhance what you're going to get. That's how we're in business. We're trusted, and
that's how you get
listen to.
business.
Yes, that's why you don't go to a doctor and tell him how to treat you. Same with property styling. You know, you come to us because we're the experts at that, and we can tell you how to best present your property. Mightn't be to your taste. It doesn't have to be to your taste. As long as it's going to appeal to the market. It's a very big thing. And I think it's a mistake a lot of people make. They think it's for them. And often they're finishing off the home that they never got to finish off. But I always say to people, even at the quoting stage, show me through your home. Great. Looks fantastic. Right, now let me go through and I'll tell you what my recommendations are. You stay here because I don't, you know, I'll go through, I'll think through each space, I'll think through it overall, and then I'll come back at the end and present them with, you know, the overarching, details, but not getting down, you know, when people say, well, what are you going to put here? What colours are you going to put? What sofa are you going to put? It's creating an overall look and feel that we can discuss with them rather than get down to tin tacks and specifics. And we do ask they trust. But sorry, back to that example of that property. So he did decide to go with the cheap quote against all advice, and it was just so wrong for the home. The furniture was all out of scale. It was the wrong quality of furniture. It would have been fine for a 2-bedroom apartment, but it wasn't fine for this magnificent
My
big
thought straight
home.
away would be understyled, like not enough
Totally
furniture.
understyled, not
to
enough.
start a styling company, I can't imagine the budget you would need.
The
and
inventory.
You can see the ones who don't have the inventory.
That's right. I mean, into this home, we probably put about $200,000 worth of furniture ultimately. So it's a lot of furniture and good quality, beautiful pieces that enhance the home. So he quickly realised 3 weeks in that he'd made a massive mistake. The marketing looked terrible. No one was coming. No one was getting it. He hated it himself, which again, I know that's not the key to the
There's
thing.
no confidence.
But the agent was very disappointed. It all got pulled out. We came in, we did our thing, had to redo all the marketing. and they're now 3 weeks down the track into the campaign. And, you know, so... And here's a good example of, and once we had put the styling in, the property sold very quickly. It was the right thing for the home, and he realised he'd made a mistake. But it's a good example, expensive. You know, and we've got a lot of ways to help people with affording the styling. We have something similar to Afterpay at Zip Money, where you can, you know, you can pay for the styling with Zip Money, which is a small payment up front, and then you've got 12 months interest free to pay it off. People settle with Zip Money once the property's sold. So there's no excuse for not presenting a property properly. You know, if I know everyone has budgets, but you do need to present it to the best possible, in the best possible light you can.
For sure.
Yeah, not skimp is my advice.
Yeah. Well, it's really good advice, and obviously we're going to talk a little bit more in episode 2 or part 2 just about a couple of specifics for some of those people. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks for tuning into Property Chat, and as always, be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date.